Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, economic managers now urging President Rodrigo Duterte to further ease community quarantine in the country to revive the economy. Also, amid apprehensions and pending guidelines, Metro Manila mayors and the IATF defer the reopening of movie houses to next month. And the president defends his stand for the U.S. to pay more if they want the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA to continue. Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri joins us live. Economic managers tell President Rodrigo Duterte that it's about time for the entire country to shift to a more relaxed community quarantine, which is MGCQ. In a cabinet meeting Monday night, Acting Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua said that the country is ready to be placed under MGCQ starting March 1. Chua said no spikes in coronavirus cases were reported even after reopening the economy in October and the holidays. They also proposed to expand public transport capacity from 50 to 75% so that more workers return to work. And lastly, economic managers are pushing to relax age restrictions gradually.
This is subject po to our discussion with the NCR mayors is to gradually expand the age group allowed to go out. Ngayon po kasi 15 to 65 lang yung pwedeng lumabas. Ang proposal po namin, i-gradual natin yung pag-expand to age 5 to 70 at pwede natin gawing dahan-dahan in increments of 5 years, also with appropriate safeguard. Yung safeguard naman, pwede lang lumabas yung kabataan with their parents only, or initially they can go out to more open areas. At hindi naman ibig sabihin na pupunta sila sa malls. Pero kung pwede pong lumabas yung kabataan with safeguards, it will allow also their parents to work and get a job.
Reopening of cinemas and more leisure activities have been allowed by the Interagency Task Force or IATF, but Metro Manila mayors defer the implementation pending guidelines to ensure that these activities will not become super spreader events. A senator also expresses concern on the reopening of cinemas at 50% capacity and allowing other entertainment activities when the country still has to roll out its vaccination program. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri. Senator Zubiri, welcome to the source and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Pinky, and nice to be in your show. And good morning to everyone. Good morning po.
So good to see you again, Senator. I'm going to start first with the cinemas because I do remember you were apprehensive about this. Ang sabi niyo po, parang kung payagan yan and 50% ang magiging capacity, basically you were saying this could be a super spreader. So the update, of course, yesterday is that it's been deferred from Feb 15 to the opening now is set on March 1. Personally, are you in favor of opening cinemas now on March 1 pending guidelines coming from the DOH and the local government units?
Ako, Pinky, I'm a big fan of cinema. Every week nanonood po ako ng movie. May movie night po kami every week with my wife. We always have a date in the cinemas. But this time with the pandemic I think it's a dangerous decision to make. You're correct. It could be a super spreader event. Why? Because you're in an enclosed space for more than an hour. Movies are at least 2 to 2.5 hours. And there's no circulation of air inside the movie houses. This is the same situation that was being mentioned by Chairman Abalos of Benher Abalos, as well as all the mayors of Metro Manila. Delikado talaga yan because kung meron lang isa nakalusot, ang dami nakakalusot. Sa Boracay nga may mga fake papeles na nakakapasok sa Boracay tapos nahawaan nila yung mga staff. Imagine kung may isang nakalusot and you have 100 people in that theater. Let's say the capacity is too good for 200, they make it 50%, that's 100. And that one person who has, whether it's symptomatic or asymptomatic, coughs or sneezes, and that person will infect the one in front of them because there's a chair in front of them, meron pong upuan sa harap niyan eh. Tapos yung tuloy-tuloy na po yan, yung spread na po yan ay tuloy-tuloy na. He could be able to infect at least 10 to 20 people at one particular time.
Yeah.
Tapos itong mga taong natamaan pa at napektahan and they were contaminated will be going home to their families and then so on and so forth. I think that's very dangerous, especially in the case that we have the new UK variant already in the Philippines. Pinky, I think we shouldn't take chances like that. Very difficult to control. And paano natin ma-monitor na hindi po nila tatanggalin yung kanilang face mask, yung kanilang face shield? Pag kumain po ng popcorn yan at uminom ng soft drink sa loob, ay tatanggalin talaga nila yan. So, napakadelikado at this point in time, Pinky, in the light that we still don't have vaccines at this point in time.
So, Senator, let me just cut na. In the event, sir, that some protocols will be set in place, guidelines will be implemented, such as an air filtration system, possibly, I'm just surmising, Senator, no eating inside the cinemas, maybe from 50%, gawin nilang 30%, because I'm sure your concerns are the concerns of some of the mayors as well. In a situation like that, na may konting adjustment, ayusin yung circulation ng, I don't know how, sir, ng hangin sa loob ng cinema, hindi pwede kumain, etc. Would you be in favor, or until now po, gusto nyo po, wag munang buksan ng mga cinemas?
I will always err the caution. I will always err the side of caution, rather, Pinky. I don't want to take the chance. Europe, alam nyo po, Pinky, about 4 months ago, Europe did the same thing. Europe decided, sige, mag-face-to-face classes na tayo. Let's open up the cafes. Let's open up the malls. Let's open up cinemas. Let's open up all these public areas. Ano nangyari sa kanila na yun, Pinky? They're in total lockdown. France is total lockdown. Austria is total lockdown. They don't allow anyone crossing their borders. All their stores are closed. Biro mo, Paris, which is the city of lights, the number one, I think, most visited city in the world, it's like a dead zone. Wala talagang umiikot dyan na yun. Italy, Rome, places like near the Vatican are all ghost towns. Walang nakakalabas dahil sa pabaya po nila 4 months ago to allow. After they saw the corona cases going down, they said, let's open up. And now they are suffering for that. England has one of its highest death rates in so many years. Buti na lang, sinabayan nila ng bakuna. You know, these places, they have vaccines, Pinky. We don't have vaccines at the moment. So it's very difficult for us to make that kind of decision because not even our healthcare personnel have been vaccinated.
Right.
So I think at this point in time, it's still a bit irresponsible. And it's difficult, Pinky, kasi it's balancing health with economy.
Right.
Alam kong ibig po sabihin ng ating mga economic managers na Carl Chua. I understand. But when will it be at the breaking point? Kung matamaan na ulit tayo ng UK variant tapos dumami ng ilang libo yung ating mga cases dito sa Pilipinas, but these people will be suffering and deaths will occur because of this laxing of our rules.
So when do you think is the perfect time to actually reopen these? Because I wanted to bring this in also, Senator, dahil pati yung mga arcades, there's a lot of concern about the arcades as well. The plan is, of course, to open this, but for now, kids are not even allowed to go out. In my understanding is, for the most part, yung nagpupunta po sa mga arcade, yung mga bata. So, meron ho bang, was this a sound decision? I mean, if you're against the opening of cinemas, I'm assuming you're also against the opening of arcades.
Well, I was listening to the news last night, and the arcade owners themselves said that they might put it on hold even if they're allowed to operate. Because, let's face it, about 80% of the market are children in the arcades. Yung mga adults naman, most of the time they're at work. Sino naman pupuntang adult dyan? Unless you're an older teenager, you're having a date with your girlfriend, that's fine. It might be more expensive for them in the long run because of the overhead costs. Diba? Napakamahal po na pag-operate ng arcades. Yung electricity costs, personnel costs. Tapos wala naman makakapunta dahil yung mga bata na sa kanilang tahanan, hindi po sila makakalabas. So I think I overheard yesterday the Association of Arcade Owners that they even want to put it on hold yet until the time comes when children are able to go back to the arcades and utilize the equipment.
I heard that too. And in fact, sabi pa nga nila, medyo nalilito daw sila. Do you remember that part na sinasabi nila na nalilito sila dito sa guidelines na to? Kasi yun yung actually punto nila, Senator. Papayagan kami magbukas, pero hindi pa pinapayagan yung mga bata na lumabas.
Yeah, that's why, Pinky, from day one, kami po mga senador, what we're saying is the only way talaga na mababalik po natin ang ekonomiya and to bring back the economy is through the vaccination program. We really have to focus on that. I think IATF together with the national government should just focus when the vaccines would come, make sure all the documentation needed by the WHO COVAX facility, as well as all the other major players in the vaccine program, be given and submitted, all the needed indemnification clauses, all the paperwork, para sa ganun may pasok na po natin yung mga bakuna, and we'll start vaccinating our people.
Yeah.
You know, there are LGUs right now. In one of my bills, Senate Bill number 2042, which will allow the LGUs to bring in vaccines and negotiate with the vaccine manufacturers. 70 LGUs have already made an order with AstraZeneca. That's about almost 20 million worth of vaccines, lalo sa NCR. These are the LGUs of Quezon City, Makati,
Taguig, Pasay.
Pasay,
Marikina,
Malabon, Navotas, San Juan. Yeah, so let's help them bring in the vaccines because, you know, let's face it, national government needs all the help that they can. Let's help them bring in the vaccines. Tapos, pabakunahan na natin yung mga kababayan natin. Hopefully, may herd immunity. Kaya naman natin bakunahan sila. Let's say within 2 to 3 months, we've already vaccinated how many million Filipinos. Then maybe we can start, Pinky, with the MGCQ.
I
think that's the safer avenue to take.
So that's where I wanted to go.
Yes.
So you're not in favor of MGCQ by March 1 as suggested by NEDA Secretary Carl Chua. Ang gusto niyo po, mag-umpisa muna tayo ng vaccination program before we even think about a more lenient MGCQ for NCR.
Yes, Pinky. I think we need that. We need to do that first. Let's wait for the vaccines to come. Imagine, because of some fluke of the system, sabihin nila, ay, end of the year pa ba darating yung bakuna ninyo? December pa or November? Can you imagine how many months that will take? And yet, bubuksan na po natin yung one of the most densely populated areas in the world. That's Metro Manila. One of the most densely populated areas in the world. We will open it again to MGCQ. Lahat ng mga kabataan ay makakalabas na. Ang tao makakaikot na freely. They will forget. And you know, sometimes we do forget our rules. Although I see Filipinos wearing masks, which is very good. Medyo diligent po tayo wearing masks. Minsan wala yung face shield. Minsan yung face shield ginagawa po nilang sunblock, yung sunblocker, parang cap. And then, yung pinakamahirap sa Pilipino na gawin, my dear Pinky, is actually social distancing. Talagang pag umikot ka na yun sa Metro Manila, you're in the car, you see people walking around, talagang dun sa bangketa, walang social distancing. Sa dami kasi ng Pilipino na nakatira sa NCR, Pinky, talagang hirap-hirap din sila mag-social distancing.
Well,
so it's very difficult at this point in time.
Okay.
With the new variants in place pa, Pinky,
Yeah.
these are the new variants. I'm really scared of these new variants.
Yeah. We need to talk about, of course, no supply agreement yet. And I also do want to talk about your bill, 2042, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2042. So we don't have a supply agreement, but we have a term sheet. We need to talk about that after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri. Senator, we don't have a supply agreement just yet. What we have are what is called term sheets. But for some people, especially in government, sabi nila term sheet will suffice kasi may reserved number of vaccines na po tayo. But there's still a question mark on that. We may have reserved vaccines, but if we haven't paid, even given a down payment, that this does not give us any assurance. Are you at all concerned, sir, na hanggang ngayon wala pa po tayong supply agreement with any vaccine manufacturer?
I'd be lying to you, Pinky, if I told you I wasn't concerned. And I don't want to lie in front of our people. Of course, I'm very concerned. I'm deeply concerned. And there were problems along the way. Supply chain is one. Talagang hirap na hirap tayo kumuha ng bakuna. It's a demand by the whole world. Buong bansa po, Pinky, ang naghahanap ng bakuna na yun. Buong mundo, rather. And the problem is Europe and the United States has probably gotten 80% of the whole total supply of the vaccines at this point in time. So yung COVAX facility po ng United Nations World Health Organization ay napaka-welcome because they really set aside these vaccines para sa ating mga bansa katulad ng Pilipinas, katulad ng mga Bangladesh, katulad ng Pakistan, smaller countries, Myanmar, Cambodia, and all these other countries that have difficulty in getting or acquiring the vaccines themselves. I believe about 20 million doses will be given to us anytime soon. Para sa ganun ay ma-jumpstart na po yung ating vaccination program. The rest will have to be sourced by the national government. And in this case also, like Senate Bill number 2042,
The LGUs.
ang ating mga local governments.
Right.
So, we're waiting for the COVAX facility. Indemnification clause na lang po ang kailangan. And I'm sure many people are aware kung ano po yung indemnification clause. Ibig sabihin po ito, kung natunukan po sila na isang bakuna, let's say Pfizer or AstraZeneca or Sinovac, pag may nangyari po sa taong yon, hindi po nila hahabulin po kaagad ang kumpanya, kundi ang gobyerno mismo ang babayad sa kanila. No? Will indemnify them for their expenses and for the health cost later on in trying to make sure that the patient is safe. We're preparing that also in a bill now. We're actually trying to incorporate it under Senate Bill number 2042, my bill on the local government units being able to bring in and negotiate rather with a lot of other vaccine manufacturers. Ang nangyayari kasi, nagtutulungan po ang local government at national government. Maraming nagtatanong sa akin, Pinky, bakit nakikialam yung local government? Well, first of all, may pera po sila. Ang local government may pondo under the Internal Revenue Allotment or IRA. Meron po sila talagang pondo na ibibigay ng national government every quarter. Pera yan. Yung national government minsan, nakukulangan ng pera, hihiram pa. You know, that takes a while. World Bank takes a while to process the loans, IMF and the Asian Development Bank, it takes a while for them to release the loans to the national government. Whereas the LGUs have funds. They have money parked in the banks. And they're saying, makakatulong po kami sa national government. We want to buy vaccines para ma-augment yung national government vaccination program. So itong bill natin ay nagbibigay po ng kapangyarihan sa kanila na makipag-negotiate. There was a bit of controversy kasi yung HTAC, yung Alliance for Healthcare
Opo, sabi
Workers.
nila, baka daw magkaroon ng maldistribution.
Opo, actually, hindi naman po dahil tinanggal na namin po yung word at yan ang request lang po nila. Tanggalin po yung word directly purchase. Ang gusto nila, okay na sa kanila yung negotiate. At ilagay po natin yung safeguard na under IATF guidelines pa po. It'll all be under the IATF guidelines and DOH guidelines. Meaning, what they were worried about is baka naman yung mabakunahan, hindi yung prioritization list. Kasi baka naman politiko lang ang mabibigyan, ang mga kapartido, etc. etc. Hindi po, nailagay po namin sa aming bill, na they have to follow the IATF guidelines on prioritization. So it will still be frontline healthcare workers of the city. All the nurses, doctors, all the people manning the hospitals in the city, including private sector healthcare workers. Let's say, for example, sa Taguig, nandiyan po yung St. Luke's. So aside from the Taguig city health officers, they will also inject or give vaccination to even the private institutions there. Second tier down the line will be, of course, the other frontline workers, essential workers. And then, of course, nandyan din po yung senior citizens, lalo na yung marginalized senior citizens. So, ganun din po ang
Pareho lang.
vaccination.
Yeah,
pareho lang. Nothing changes.
With the
Nothing will change. And
prioritization.
it will be also heavily monitored by the DOH and the IATF so that there will be no wastage of the vaccines and, of course, no slip-ups in terms of giving the priority list. No? Hindi po walang po makakasingit dyan. Ang kailangan lang kasi dito sa batas na ito or panukalang ito, Pinky, was the legal protection. Because right now, local governments have agreement with AstraZeneca. We have 70 local governments for a total of about 20 million doses of AstraZeneca pending. Pending po, when I say pending, meron na po silang kontrata, may agreement na po sila, pero hindi pa po sila nakakabigay ng down payment. I think Pag nakabigay na po sila ng down payment, that means the contract is valid. Ang problema po, under our laws, particularly under
The
local
procurement.
government code, opo, bawal po magbigay ng down payment.
Yeah.
It says very explicit in the local government code that local government units cannot give a down payment. Number one. Number two, under the Government Procurement Act of 9184, bawal din po mag-negotiated bidding. Dapat lowest bidder, di ba po?
Opo.
So you have to have a lowest bidder. And you know how vaccines work, Pinky.
And that's not going to work this time around. That lowest bid is not going to work this
absolutely.
time around.
It's not going to work because it's supply driven. The prices are different all throughout the section of vaccines. They have different prices. What is important is availability, because there are lower price vaccines but they're not available till next year, 2022. For example, AstraZeneca cannot anymore commit a second batch of vaccines. They're committing that December 2021 or 2022 na.
But I
Pero
need to
meron po mga
clarify.
bakuna like Novavax
Opo.
that can be available in 3 months, 4 months, but they're
Right.
slightly more expensive. So, ganun po yung nangyayari. So, we want to accept local governments from that particular provision, those two particular provisions of the Local Government Code and the Government Procurement Act para
Okay.
makabigay na po sila ng down payment. The
Yes.
problem, Pinky, is if we do not give a down payment by this month, February 26, I was told by both AstraZeneca and our contacts in the local government, mawawala yung allocation na yan sa atin.
Senator,
At kung mawala pa yan, maiiyak na talaga tayo lahat kung mawawala pa yan sa atin.
so I know that you were pushing, you filed this bill, you're pushing for it. It's Senate Bill 2042 nga. And again, just to summarize that, no, kailangan na ho kasi in this bill, kailangan na magbigay ng down payment. And this is needed para nga hindi po ma-violate ang procurement law natin. If there is a deadline by which the LGUs need to pay, when will you be able to pass this?
We're going to, good news, tapos na po yung committee hearing. We approved it on committee level. We have a committee, we already have a committee report. And by tonight, hopefully we'll be able to sponsor the committee report. And we're hoping that it can be made a priority measure by the President para mailabas kaagad ang panukalang ito. Hopefully, if they can come out and make it a certified priority measure, we can
Right.
approve it tonight or tomorrow for third reading, and probably the President will be able to sign
Okay.
it by next
Okay.
week. They're aware.
Sinabi na
Malacanang
po
is aware
urgent
of this measure.
Yeah, I think Secretary Galvez was already, he's for this, I believe, and he even said this is
Yes.
urgent. And
Yes.
there was also
He
talk
endorsed
about
it.
Malacanang also looking into this. Just very quickly, I wanted clarification on this, but I need to go on a break. Ito ho ba tripartite agreement pa rin? Kasi yun naman po yung napag-uusapan in the past. So it's still government, it's still the manufacturer, and the LGU. Pareho pa rin?
Yes.
Okay.
Opo.
It's still a
There'll
tripartite
still be a
agreement.
tripartite agreement in place.
All right. We need to take another short break. The Source will be right back. Watching The Source on CNN Philippines, our guest today, Senate Majority Leader Migz Zubiri. Senator, I need to ask you about this VFA. I need to get a reaction from you on what the President said, and I quote, "I'd like to put it on notice, if there's an American agent here," sabi po ni Pangulo, "from now on, you want the visiting forces agreement done, you have to pay. It's a shared responsibility, but your share of responsibility does not come free because after all, when the war breaks out, we all pay." How did you understand this? And of course, there was a clarification already last night from the President regarding this as well. How do you react to this kind of statement? Because Senator Ping Lacson reacted initially, and then even the President called him out on this.
Well, I don't want to pick a fight with the President. You know naman, our President is a bit sensitive about making comments on his statements. But, you know, Senator Lacson is entitled to his own opinion. And at that time, if that's what he felt, was the pronouncement of the President at that time. Although, I think, in a way, not defending the President, in a way, we've always been getting the short end of the stick when it comes to assistance from our friends in the United States. I've said this before, actually, I've said this in the past, that if you look at the help that they've given, particularly, for example, Pakistan, they get billions of dollars of assistance and aid. And other countries, Egypt, They get billions of dollars also in aid and assistance from the United States. But the Philippines really gets a paltry amount from these assistance funds. So I think the president is sharing his sheer frustration out of the whole setup. But I think it could have been said in a more diplomatic way. I think we all agree that it could have been said in a more diplomatic way, but I understand the sentiments where the president is coming from.
So basically, you're really saying that we need more. May punto po si Pangulo para sa inyo kasi we need more from the United States.
Yeah, as a long-time partners and friends, I think we need, particularly on our air support, no, we lack helicopters. Would you believe it, Pinky, that we only have one C-130 flying now? One C-130 transport aircraft. Just one. That brings around all our soldiers from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, bringing essential goods to our troops. And it's only one. So if something happens to that only available C-130 transport plane, well, how are their soldiers going to travel and their equipment travel from one island to another? So yeah, we could use some more help, Pinky. We have budgets to augment this, but let's face it, with this pandemic, our budget's not enough. I mean, how can we prioritize, let's say, 40 to 50 billion pesos to military equipment I would wish to see in a yearly allocation during this time of pandemic? Na our economy is so bad, people need ayuda. We have to jumpstart the economy. The United States is trying to come up with a $1.7 trillion package, stimulus package, to jumpstart their economy.
Yeah.
Tayo po, medyo matibay mode pa tayo ngayon. So people are talking about a Bayanihan 3.
Yeah.
That would be welcome to come up with a Bayanihan 3, and we're studying that as well. The proposal of Congressman, now Speaker Lord Velasco. So we're working on those packages. But yes, any help from our dear ally, the United States of America, would be welcome. Maybe a few more transport planes and a few more helicopters, hopefully not the Vietnam-era helicopters that we've seen crashing.
Right,
I came out with a
that have been
statement
grounded.
there already saying we should shut them all down and get new helicopters.
Okay.
So yeah, any help that could come would be very welcome.
Senate
Thank you.
Majority Leader Migz Zubiri, sir, thank you so much for your time and good luck. I really hope you're able to pass Senate Bill 2042 as soon as possible. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Maraming salamat, Pinky, and mabuhay po tayong lahat. God bless you all.
Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.